Hi, y'all, and welcome back to JoJo's Crime Lines and Mysteries. You got JoJo here. Hey, and if you're new to my channel, thank you for stopping by, and glad that you found me. It is real nice to meet you. Now, y'all, grab a chair, kick off your shoes, and let's dive into another true crime case. Oh, but wait a minute. Before we do, please don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button. And make sure that your bell notifications are turned to all so that you can get alerted when I put out new videos. Now, let's go ahead and jump on into the case. The content you are about to watch contains the subject matter of a real-life true crime event. Therefore, it is not suitable for all ages and is only intended for adults. Hi, y'all. We're going to start off today with a timeline looking at the disappearance of Crystal Rogers. I wanted to go ahead and start off with just a little bit of a background on this case. Now, the main objective of today's video is to go ahead and watch Steve Lawson's sentencing. But in order to watch that, if you don't already have a background on this case, then you might want to go ahead and go through the timeline with me and just get a background on it. So here's an article that I ended up finding. It's about the timeline, the disappearance of Crystal Rogers. It's an in-depth look at the years-long investigation. It was published September 11, 2023, and it was updated July 8th, 2025. So when this article was published, yeah, it had been a little over 8 years because the disappearance was in 2015 on July 4th. We'll go ahead and watch this short little clip real quick.
Investigation has had such a hold, not only on this community, but on the Kentuckiana community. And there have been developments over the years. There have been searches. There have been interviews. There have been big announcements made. Nothing quite like this. But Brooke Hash takes a look at the timeline over the last 8 years.
Crystal was last seen alive on July 3rd of 2015. At the time, the Nelson County Sheriff's Office was handling the case. Brooks Houck told police the couple had fed cows at the family farm and then went home together. He says the next morning she was gone. 4 months later, the sheriff at the time announced Crystal was presumed dead.
She has vanished.
And declared Houck the main suspect.
No comment. Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
The FBI took over Crystal's case 5 years later. They'd spend the next 2 years searching several properties from the home of Brooks' brother, former Bardstown police officer Nick Houck, and the family farm. That brings us to June 21st of this year, when a grand jury indicted 32-year-old Joseph Lawson on 2 charges: conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. His attorney confirmed it was.
Now, Joseph Lawson, for those who don't know, he is the son of Steve Lawson. We're listening to his sentence today.
In connection to the Crystal Rogers case. And finally, the arrest of Brooks Houck Wednesday morning. Now charged with murder and tampering with evidence on a $10 million cash bond.
So now we jump down into the story here. So Bardstown, Kentucky, a major breakthrough in an unsolved case may be the key to bringing federal investigators one step closer to the truth in the 2015 disappearance of Crystal Rogers. The 35-year-old mother of 5 from Bardstown has been missing for nearly a decade now. Crystal Rogers' disappearance hangs heavy over the Nelson County community. Despite numerous search warrants and interviews over the years, there has been little to shed light on the case. That was until a Nelson County man was arrested in connection to Crystal's disappearance last August. So that would have been August of 2023, I believe. Then Brooks Houck was arrested in September, and a third suspect was charged just weeks later. It is the first major development in years. Here's a timeline of everything that has happened throughout the investigation. So here's your timeline of Crystal's disappearance. July 3rd, 2015, the last day Crystal Rogers is seen alive. 2 days later, she's reported missing by her parents. Not Brooks Houck. Okay, Brooks Houck was her husband. He didn't report her missing. It was her mom and dad that reported her missing. Her car was later found along the Bluegrass Parkway with her keys, phone, and purse still inside. July 8, 2015. Brooks Houck is questioned by Nelson County Sheriff's Office Detective John Snow. He calls Steve Lawson, who will later be arrested in the case. Brooks' brother and Bardstown police officer Nick Houck calls him in the middle of the interview, advising him to end the interview, which Brooks does. Which I'll go ahead and link this article in the description box below. So if you want, you can go ahead and click on these links here where they have full interviews of Brooks Houck, Nick Houck. They are rather long, so I'm not going to go ahead and do them right now. I want to keep this video kind of short. So then this is Brooks Houck and father of one of Crystal's children. This is Nick Houck over here. That is Brooks' brother, which is also a police officer for Bardstown Police Department. Or I should say was. A little spoiler there for those who don't already know. So July 15, 2015, Kentucky State Police detectives questioned Nick Houck about Crystal's disappearance and the phone call during his brother's interview. He also agrees to take a polygraph test. July 24th, 2015, Nick Houck is back in the interrogation room after failing his polygraph test. October 16, 2015, Crystal is presumed dead by Ed Mattingly, who is the sheriff at the time. Her ex-boyfriend, Brooks Houck, is named the main suspect. Nick Houck is also fired from the Bardstown Police Department. Now, this is another sad part of the case, unfortunately. November 19th, 2016, Tommy Ballard, Crystal's father, is fatally shot while on a hunting trip with his grandson. Nearly 7 years later, his death also remains unsolved. Just about anybody you talk to about Tommy Ballard's case is going to say it's related to Crystal's case. He was getting too close, in my opinion, and they had to do something, I guess. But it's really sad. And he was very outspoken about who he believed had red rum Crystal and why she wasn't here. August 2020, the FBI steps in and takes over the Crystal Rogers case. Agents executed search warrants at the home of Brooks Houck and his brother Nick, who was a police officer in Bardstown at the time. The FBI also searched Crystal's storage unit and conducted their first search of the Houck family farm. Which, wait a minute, I thought that it said up here that he'd already been fired from the Bardstown Police Department. Yeah, right here it said August 16, 2015, that he was fired from the Bardstown Police Department. But down here it says that he was still a police officer in Bardstown at the time. Let me see. Let me take a look at this article real quick. Let's see. February 5th, 2024. Atlanta disappearance. The first time since. Okay, here it is right here. Nick was fired from the department the same day his brother was named the main suspect in Rogers' disappearance in October 2015. Okay, so Nick stayed with the police department until at least October 2015 when Brooks was named a suspect. Okay. So we go back to the timeline, and that lines up right here with the October 16, 2015. Okay, so maybe I read this wrong. Let's go back and reread this one here. Maybe I just misinterpreted how I was reading this. August 2020, the FBI steps in and takes over Crystal Rogers' case. Agents executed search warrants at the home of Brooks Houck and his brother Nick, who was a police officer in Bardstown at the time. The FBI also searched Crystal's storage unit and conducted their first search of the Houck family farm. So to me, that's that they're saying that he was a police officer at the time of August 2020, which is not true. So that's probably just a misprint. So we're going to just go ahead and move on. We know that he was, according to what the other article said, he was fired from the police department back in October of 2015 when Brooks was named as the main suspect. So let's move on to August 27, 2021. After another multi-day search, federal agents find items of interest under a driveway in the Woodlawn Springs subdivision. Documents showed Houck Rentals LLC, of which Brooke Houck was registered agent for, owned 3 homes in Woodlawn, including 2 on the street blocked off by the FBI. So let's take a look real quick. What's his items of interest? FBI Louisville said they know there are individuals in the Bardstown community who have information on the Rogers disappearance, and now is the time to come forward. So we'll just go ahead and watch this quick little news clip here.
The FBI says they've found an item of interest in the search for missing mother, Crystal Rogers. Now in day 4, agents in Bardstown have narrowed their focus on a specific driveway in the Woodlawn Springs subdivision. WHS 11's Shane McAllister continues to cover Bardstown.
News of that discovery from the FBI making this search feel even more real for the Ballard family, the community, and even the Nelson County Sheriff, who worked this case for 5 years before the FBI took the lead.
I'm getting goosebumps, and at the end of the day, like I said, it doesn't matter who solves it as long as it gets solved.
From 5 houses down, the Nelson County Sheriff is doing his part, running a roadblock, protecting the integrity of the FBI's investigation.
Until the FBI tells us they're done. We're here for the long haul.
We don't know what the FBI found at the search site, only that it's an item of interest recovered from underneath a driveway on a property with ties to Brooks Houck. Houck owned the property when Crystal Rogers went missing. He has since sold it, according to public records. It's also the same property where a cadaver dog hit, while Team Crystal searched the spot 5 years ago.
The fact that they're back searching in that area tells me maybe we had a clue, but we just couldn't find what we were looking for.
Sherry Ballard shared that on Tuesday. Day 1 of what has now turned into a 4-day search. Every day, she says, the hope intensifies, but so does the fear. She and everyone else watching this case want to see real action, real answers.
It's not about the Nelson County Sheriff's Office. It's not about the FBI. It's about closer to the family and putting the people behind bars at the end of the day.
When it comes to accountability, the FBI had a not-so-subtle message, writing they know there are people in this community who have information on Crystal's disappearance, and the time to come forward is now. And it's not only Crystal's family closely watching this search today. I also spoke with Jason Ellis's family. His sisters tell us they are watching every new development coming from this site. They told us that they truly believe answers in Crystal's case could lead to answers in his case as well. In Bardstown, I'm Shay McAllister.
Jason Ellis. I guess that's somebody else that I have to look up. All right, let's see. Item of interest. Let's scan this article real quick, see if they ever say anything. I don't think that they ever did. I don't recall them ever saying what it was. It is unclear what item was recovered at the Woodlawn Spring subdivision site, but the FBI said additional information will be released as it is made available. Yeah, so they never actually said what was recovered. Okay. Okay, so now we're on to October 21st, 2022. FBI agents concluded a second search of the 245-acre Houck family farm after 5 days. Evidence collected during the search was sent to the FBI's lab in Quantico to be analyzed. Let's see what kind of evidence that they collected. Oh, come on. Okay, 5-day search for evidence in Crystal Rogers' case at Houck Farm ends. In a statement, the FBI said it hopes evidence collected at the Houck family farm will move their investigation forward. So this was October 21, 2022 was published, and October 24, 2022 it was updated. Let's take a look at this clip real quick. It's just 3 minutes.
The FBI has now stopped its search on a farm near Bardstown in the case of Crystal Rogers and says they have collected evidence. It is our top story tonight at 6. Hello, everyone. I'm Doug Prophet. This has been one of the longest searches in this ongoing case, and their statement about it offers some detail tonight. In the statement from Special Agent in Charge Jody Cohen, she says, "We hope that evidence collected will move our investigation one step closer to holding accountable the individual or individuals responsible for Crystal Rogers' disappearance."
What evidence?
WHAS 11's Isaiah Kim Martinez and photojournalist Philip Merle have been out at the farm all day long and joining us now. And Isaiah, you've been talking to a former FBI special agent in Louisville. What does he say about this 5-day search?
Hey, Doug. Well, first I want to make clear we're on County Road here, just in front of that blue barn that's been, of course, the center of a lot of attention here. We spoke with former FBI Special Agent David Ballard, who says there's plenty of hope. Otherwise, investigators wouldn't have spent 5 days, including 4 overnights on this property. Now comes the big question everyone wants to know. What evidence did FBI agents find, and will it be what turns the tide here on this case?
Yes, please answer.
The clear signs of work finishing up at the Houck family farm. Porter potties lifted off and the FBI's mobile command center driving off Pascal Ballard Lane. After being blocked off for a whole work week, the county road is now wide open. Once again, we got to look at the blue barn special agents were focusing on, a point of emphasis in the past. Sherry Ballard, Crystal Rogers' mother, hoping this will soon mean a case closed.
I guess until I find her, I'm just never going to be happy with that farm.
She spoke at a news conference soon after the search started Monday.
I'm ready for answers. Our family just needs answers.
The family's crossing their fingers and praying the evidence collected by the FBI this time will lead to accountability.
I think there's a lot of hope.
Before the FBI statement went out, we spoke with former federal special agent David Ballard with expertise on these kinds of searches. For years, he reviewed search warrants before they left the FBI office and went to a judge. He believes all signs point toward progress.
They're not going to dedicate that much time and resource if they don't have a strong belief that they'll find something of value at that location.
Now, how much progress is unclear.
True.
To Ballard, the 24-hour FBI presence all week was significant.
So the duration of it, is more than likely due to the attempts by somebody to conceal something.
Also up in the air, whether we could see more searches in the near future, either at this property or elsewhere, that remains to be seen.
They develop that reasonable belief, a judge could authorize another search warrant at that location or any other location.
True.
Now, we also spoke with Crystal's sister and other family members who live close by. They didn't want to appear on camera here today, but they did tell me they have full trust in both the work that federal and local agencies have done all week to make progress here on this case. Live here in Nelson County tonight, Isaiah Kim Martinez, WHAS 11 on your side.
Okay, so of course they didn't say, investigators did not say what evidence they may have found on the farm. I didn't figure that they would, so we're going to go ahead and move on. I think this might be the same video that we just watched over there on the other one, so let's see real quick.
Exactly what we know about the search today. Agents first got on the farm around 7:30 this morning. It was dozens of law enforcement officials. They even brought out a mobile command center, and we know they are executing a new search warrant. You have to have new evidence to come back on this farm, a farm they have been on many times before. Beyond this roadblock, we were able to get a look at what they're doing. We can see them working with heavy machinery, with equipment, even ladders, searching through barns and woods and ponds. They say this is in connection to the missing persons case. We also talked to Sherry Ballard today, who says the community support that she has received can be almost overwhelming, but it is so helpful when she's going through all of this.
Without the support of this community backing me, I could not be where I'm at today. It's nice to know that people feel what I feel in my heart, and that they really do support me on that.
God, I feel so bad for her.
The FBI announced they were taking the lead in Crystal Rogers' case back in July of 2020, 2 years ago. Since then, they have served more than 9 federal search warrants. They have interviewed more than 100 people. They have dug up driveways. They have collected items of interest. We know so much has happened. We put it all together for you guys in a quick timeline so you can see exactly where this investigation stands today. July of 2020, swarms of federal agents ascended on Bardstown, carrying boxes of evidence from Brooks Houck's house. Documents and keys among the items seized. He was home at the time of the search. Nearby, his brother Nick Houck's home was also under search. Dogs sniffing his truck, guns collected from inside his home and removed from the property. 9 miles away, the family farm also a point of investigation. Neighbors told our crews the federal agents were a welcomed sight.
I'm so happy it's finally happening. We need them here.
You know, for the past year,
Yep.
we've had a number of agents that have been working nonstop on this case. And of course, that's all been behind the scenes. Now it's in the open.
Later that month, Crystal's storage unit was searched for the very first time, and her car was collected as evidence. Crystal's mom had been storing it after finding it abandoned on the side of the Bluegrass Parkway with her keys, phone, and purse inside. All of the activity made the family hopeful they could soon see an arrest.
Okay, why did the family have to store her car? I thought that the police would store her car until the investigation was over.
But that didn't happen. We didn't hear from the FBI again until about a year later, when they worked with the Nelson County Sheriff's Office to restrict access to a Bardstown neighborhood, narrowing in on a driveway with ties to Brooks Houck.
I'm getting goosebumps, and at the end of the day, like I said, it doesn't matter who solves it as long as it gets solved.
For 7 days, evidence analysts worked alongside federal agents to dig up a driveway piece by piece, hauling away the concrete, eventually revealing they had seized items of evidence and sent them to the FBI evidence lab in Quantico, Virginia. They never told us what they found, but they did tell Crystal's mom, Sherry Ballard.
Yes, ma'am. I was told the day that they found it, and it was a very hard time for me, because what they found could very well be evidence that they needed.
And now the search for clues continues. FBI agents back in Bardstown once again focused on a property. The property long considered the last place Crystal Rogers was seen alive.
Well, I mean, I understand that she has to be careful with what she says because of the fact that it was still an ongoing investigation, but man, that just leaves you on the edge of your seat. Just want to know what it was. January 20, 2023. Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron appoints Hardin County Commonwealth's Attorney Shane Young as special counsel to help in the prosecution of criminal charges in a trio of mysterious deaths in Bardstown. Those include Crystal's case, Tommy Ballard, and Jason Ellis. Now, don't remember Jason Ellis, so I will have to look into him because I don't recall what happened with him. A Bardstown police officer who was murdered in an ambush in 2013. So I don't know how they link him exactly, but I do know Tommy Ballard, hands down. I definitely believe, in my opinion, that that was linked to Crystal. And then June 21, 2023, a grand jury indicts a Nelson County man, 32-year-old Joseph Lawson, which is Steve Lawson's son, on 2 charges: conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. The tampering with physical evidence is, I believe, that he was the one who admitted to actually driving Crystal's car to the location where it was found. The charges are tied to an incident that took place on the 4th of July weekend of 2015. That's the same weekend Crystal was reported missing by her family. And this right here is Joseph Lawson. August 15th, 2023. Kentucky State Police execute an arrest warrant for Lawson. He is arrested and his attorney confirms charges are connected to Crystal's disappearance. And then September 7th, 2023. Lawson makes his first court appearance from a hospital bed. His next court date is scheduled for October 26, 2023. Why was he in a hospital bed? I don't remember that one. September 27, 2023, the FBI in Louisville arrest Rogers' ex-boyfriend, Brooks Houck. He is charged with murder and tampering with physical evidence. His cash bond is set at $10 million, and his arraignment is set for October 5th, 2023. Okay, here's a video on that.
More on this breaking news, a major arrest in the Crystal Rogers case. It's been 8 years since she disappeared. The FBI and Kentucky State Police have arrested Brooks Houck, Crystal Rogers' former boyfriend and main suspect in the case. Just hours ago, we learned Brooks Houck is charged with murder and tampering with physical evidence in the death of Rogers. Our Focus investigator Shane McAllister has been a leader in following this case since day one. She is now live in Bardstown with the latest. Shay, what can you tell us?
Hey, Brooke, well, let me put this into perspective. When you wonder if anybody here cares about this arrest, since we got here about an hour ago, I have talked to no fewer than 5 different people who have come here just hoping to learn some information. Not family members, no one connected, just Bardstown community members asking, is it true? Was Brooks Houck arrested today? And of course, we tell them yes. We have the court documents right here spelling out exactly what he's charged with. Something that really stands out on these court documents, Crystal Rogers' name is on here. So these aren't just charges that could be related to anything. We know Brooks Houck has been charged with the murder of Crystal Rogers. We know it is in connection to incidents from 4th of July weekend 2015, which of course is when Crystal was first reported missing. I have spoken to members of the Ballard family today. They tell me they're absolutely in shock. Of course, this is
so beautiful.
Something that they have been waiting for. The Ballard family has been very outspoken in their belief that Brooks Houck was responsible for the disappearance of Crystal Rogers. But today, actually hearing the news is certainly weighing heavy on them. They tell me they are in shock. They are happy, but they're processing this. And then there's another side of the story that I'm getting tons of questions about, and I want to update you on. And that is the custody of Crystal's youngest son, Eli. Brooks Houck and Crystal Rogers.
Isn't he just adorable?
Had a child together. Just few years before she went missing. He was not even 2 years old yet. At that time, when she went missing, Brooks was sharing custody with Sherry Ballard. That didn't last long because Brooks started filing motions in the court saying that Sherry was changing the way his son felt about him, that they were telling him lies. And eventually a judge took away visitation from Sherry Ballard. It was something very difficult for her.
Oh, that is, oh man. Wow. That's like just, First, he red rums her daughter, and then he steals the only thing that they have left of her from them by telling lies.
We talked about it many years ago. Well, today I talked to the clerk about what could be happening with that little boy right now. The clerk told me that in theory, Sherry could file an emergency custody petition. A judge could grant it today, and Sherry could get custody of that little boy by the end of the day. Of course, family court proceedings are private. That is something that the Ballard family will have to share with me later. We are planning to talk to them here very soon to get an update on that. But it is a very, very busy day down here in Bardstown. The next big development is going to come next week, Brooke. That's when we're expecting Brooks Houck to be in court, charged with the murder of Crystal Rogers. We'll send it back to you.
Shay, thank you. And again, always on top of this case since day one. Let's take a look at the timeline of events since Crystal's disappearance. She was last seen alive on July 3rd of 2015. And at the time, the Nelson County Sheriff's Office was handling the case. Brooks Houck told police the couple had fed cows at their family farm and then went home together. That's when he said the next morning she was gone. 4 months later, the sheriff at the time announced Crystal was presumed dead.
No. Where does he think he's going? No. Come back.
And declared Houck the main suspect. The FBI took over Crystal's case 5 years after that. They'd spend the next 2 years searching several properties from the home of Brooks' brother, former Bardstown police officer Nick Houck, to the family farm multiple times. And that brings us to June 21st of this year, when a grand jury indicted 32-year-old Steve Lawson on 2 charges: conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. His attorney confirmed it was in connection to Crystal's case. And finally, today, the arrest of Brooks Houck as of this morning, again in jail on $10 million cash bond.
So that was September 27th. Now we move on to October 5th, 2023. Brooks Houck is arraigned. During the proceedings, the prosecution revealed they believe they are in possession of the firearm used to red rum Tommy Ballard. Interesting. Okay, so let's watch this short little clip right here. Oh, it's not as short as I thought.
The murder mysteries in Bardstown are becoming clearer with each different court appearance. Breaking news from the arraignment of Brooks Houck this afternoon in Nelson County. Houck appearing via live video for his first court appearance in the murder of Crystal Rogers. And then the surprise no one saw coming. Prosecutors dropping a major bombshell in this case, which has been full of them. Key evidence in the murder of Crystal's father, Tommy Ballard. Our coverage begins right now at 4. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm Doug Proffitt. The courtroom packed with family members stunned to learn that prosecutors have the gun they believe was used to kill Tommy Ballard, who was actively leading the search for his daughter. WHS 11's Shay McAllister and chief photojournalist Philip Merle are in Bardstown right now. And Shay, everyone was there to learn if Houck's $10 million bond would hold up. So how did this news about Tommy Ballard come out today?
Oh, Doug, well, when you think about a courtroom hearing here, there's a lot of things you expect to happen, and especially in an arraignment, and those things did happen. We talked about the bond reduction. They talked about the thousands, literally thousands of pages of evidence in the case. They also talked about a possible move of venue later on for trial. Here's what we didn't expect: a bombshell in another unsolved Bardstown case. The prosecutor telling us not only are they investigating Tommy Ballard's death, they think they know who was responsible. In front of a packed courtroom, another shocker in the small-town murder mystery that just keeps twisting and turning. For the first time, we hear who investigators believe killed Tommy Ballard. Special prosecutor Shane Young saying they are currently testing a gun that belonged to Nick Houck.
We're investigating the murder of Tommy Ballard that could potentially be related to this case.
Okay, so this was back October 5th of 2023, yet here we are, August 6th of 2025, and yet, as far as I know, Tommy Ballard's case still is unsolved to this day. So I'm assuming that that gun did not have anything to do with it?
We are waiting for testing to come back on the firearm we believe was used to murder Tommy Ballard, a firearm that we purchased from Nicholas Houck, who was using a fake name when he sold the rifle.
The prosecutor going into detail about why he believes it will be a match.
We know it's the same caliber. There's 5 criteria that they're looking at, and so far it's matched 4 of the 5 criteria.
In the front row of the courtroom, the Ballard family looked stunned, Sherry's eyes filling with tears. It was a moment this family has been waiting for.
That feel real good. We thought it all along, but after prosecuting Shane made that statement, we feel a whole lot better, and I think it won't be too long.
He thinks Nick Houck could be the next arrest, but he and Brooks weren't the only ones from the Houck family mentioned in the courtroom. Prosecutor Shane Young accused the family of violating Kentucky law by secretly recording grand jury proceedings.
The defendant's sister, Rhonda McEvoy Houck, brother Nicholas Houck, mother Rosemary Houck, brother-in-law Alex McEvoy, and Rosemary Houck's live-in boyfriend, Larry Mott, all recorded, secretly brought in recorders and recorded the grand jury.
I thought when you go into a grand jury trial like that they make sure that nobody has any kind of recording devices, and you can't bring cell phones or anything like that. And so my question is how did they get past the security with any kind of recording devices?
I've been practicing here, Your Honor, for 25 years in this state, and I've yet, ever, heard of anyone recording a grand jury.
He alleged the family was trying to get their story straight, trying to solidify a lie.
As been stated before, the truth will set you free. The problem in this matter is the truth will imprison Brooks Houck. And we are asking Your Honor to keep the bond the same.
The defense did submit a request to lower the bond. It was what we thought would be the most interesting part of court today, but it was only covered briefly. The defense wants it lowered from $10 million to $500,000. Attorney Brian Butler called the current bond oppressive.
The grand jury out of Nelson County that set this bond, I have been practicing 28 years. I have never heard of a bond even coming close to this.
And I can tell you I've never asked for a $10 million bond. This is the first multi-millionaire I've prosecuted for murder.
Young alleges Houck's construction companies, rental properties, and real estate is worth $10 million, if not more. He says this bond is fair for someone who has so much to lose. Ultimately, the judge asked for more time to review the new information. He says he'll make a decision later. And as the courtroom emptied, we had some questions for Rosemary Houck, Brooks' mom.
Rosemary, the special prosecutor accused you of violating Kentucky law today. What do you have to say about that?
Your son's involved in the deaths of...
Did your son, Nick, kill Tommy Ballard?
Rogers, anything you'd like to say?
Did your son kill Tommy Ballard, Miss Houck?
Of course she's not going to say anything.
She didn't stop to provide any answers about her son, Nick, and the new accusations that he killed Tommy Ballard. But Tommy's dad had these final words.
I'm hoping he'll be the next one arrested.
In a case that continues to stun Kentucky and the nation, another bombshell comes out of court. One the Ballard family hopes is bringing them that much closer to real justice.
And the next court date is set for February, right here in Nelson County. Of course, eventually, it won't be here in Nelson County. The defense already told us today they do plan to ask for a change for this trial to be held in a different county so that Brooks Houck can have a fair trial. Now let's dive into that a little bit more. Everyone in the United States has the right to a fair trial, something that Houck's defense team is working hard to guarantee for their own client. So what would a trial with this much media attention actually look like? Judges have relied on 6 major ways to combat press publicity on a jury. One is a change of venue. When the defendant could ask to move the trial to a different area, it would take the trial out of Nelson County into a different county here in Kentucky. Conversely, judges could also bring a jury from another place. So the jurors would not come from Bardstown. They would go through an extensive voir dire process to see if they've heard of it or they know about the case. Juries from other areas might know less or haven't been exposed to the media coverage compared to people right here in Bardstown and Nelson County. There is still a very lengthy process to go before we reach a trial. It could be more than a year before we see Brooks on trial. In fact, today, Brian Butler, the defense attorney in this case, told the judge he doesn't think it's realistic that there will be a trial in 2024. He's already looking ahead to 2025. Well, as you know, Brooks is not the only person in this case. There is a co-defendant. His name is Joseph Lawson, and he was arrested just a couple of weeks before Brooks. A Nelson County grand jury indicted Joseph Lawson on 2 charges: conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. Lawson was arrested on September 8th. He was arraigned shortly thereafter. The court entered a not guilty plea.
Okay, so what do y'all think of that picture of him? If you just ran into him on the street, what would your impression of this man be? Leave your thoughts down there in the comment box for me, please.
On both of those charges. The bond was set at $500,000, and his next court date is October 26th. Well, taking a closer look now at this investigation, it has been 8 years in the making. It has certainly been a lot of developments, much like today. Every time there is something happening in this case, there's a twist and a turn. Let's look back now at some of those developments.
Crystal was last seen alive on July 3rd of 2015. At the time, the Nelson County Sheriff's Office was handling the case. Brooks Houck told police the couple had fed cows at the family farm and then went home together. He says the next morning she was gone. 4 months later, the sheriff at the time announced.
Yeah, and here's the thing is that he ended up receiving a phone call from Steve Lawson in the middle of the night that night, and supposedly it was only 13 seconds, okay? Wrap your head around that for a minute. 13 seconds. How much can you say in 13 seconds? Brooks claims that in that 13 seconds they were talking about some kind of rental property, and he just ended up telling him, well, you just have to talk to Crystal in the morning about it because she handles it. Yet, supposedly, Brooks says that Crystal was right there in the passenger seat of the truck with him when he received that call. But told Steve, you'll have to talk to her in the morning about it. It was, I think, asking about a key or something for a rental property, if I remember correctly. But I know that it was something about a rental property. Okay, 13 seconds. Just think about that. 13 seconds. More like he was saying, okay, I did what you told me to do. Goodbye, click. Oops. Uh-oh, where were we? I think we were right about there. Sorry about that.
4 months later, the sheriff at the time announced Crystal was presumed dead.
She has vanished.
And declared Houck the main suspect.
No comment. Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
The FBI took over Crystal's case 5 years later. They'd spend the next 2 years searching several properties from the home of Brooks' brother, former Bardstown police officer Nick Houck, and the family farm. That brings us to June 21st of this year, when a grand jury indicted 32-year-old Joseph Lawson on 2 charges: conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. His attorney confirmed it was in connection to the Crystal Rogers case. And finally, the arrest of Brooks Houck, now charged with murder and tampering with evidence on a $10 million cash bond.
Eric King and I just sat down this week to answer some of your common questions about the Crystal Rogers case, the other Bardstown murders, and what it's been like to work this investigation for the last 8 years. If you're interested, you can find that conversation. It's 20 minutes long. It's on the WHAS 11 YouTube page. Doug?
Well, Shay, we've got a lot of questions to go over right here at 4 o'clock. Let's go back to the $10 million bond. Do we have a decision from the judge yet on that? I know the arguments were pretty strong from Brian Butler to lower it. Can you go over those again?
Absolutely. Okay, so here was the main case on both sides. Brian Butler said in all of his years of defense work and all of the clients that he has had and that he hasn't represented, he has never seen a bond at $10 million. He said at most $1 million or $3 million, never $10 million. He said that this would kill Brooks Houck's business. This would leave his son without a father, and that if he were truly to stay in jail until...
Well, it's because of the father that his son is without a mother right now.
trial on a $10 million bond. It would be very detrimental to his defense. He wouldn't be able to work with the attorneys the way Brian Butler wants him to. On the other side, Shane Young, the prosecutor, said it was $10 million for a reason. He said he too has never imposed a $10 million bond. But Brooks Houck has a lot of assets, 3 different companies, more than 70 rental properties, huge real estate sales just in recent years. He said for Brooks Houck, $500,000 is chump change. It's nothing. He would most certainly get out. The judge did want time to review all of this. Multiple documents were handed over today. So the judge said he's going to read through all of that. He will write a written order. He will submit it online. That's where we'll find out about that bond.
Okay, so no decision at this hour as we speak. But of course, I know the question you've been asking, the one everybody up here still wants to know, Nick Houck. He was really named in this as a possible in connection with this today, but he remains a free man as we speak tonight.
It's a truly stunning development. You don't typically hear investigators, prosecutors mention main suspects before they make an arrest. It was shocking 8 years ago when the Nelson County Sheriff at the time called Brooks Houck the main suspect in the case. Today, the prosecutor didn't use the word suspect, but he certainly hinted at a person of interest in Tommy Ballard's murder by saying that they had purchased this gun from him. They were testing it and they believed it was used in that case. That was not something we were expecting, Doug. That was a huge bombshell today.
So let's see, we want to watch this video real quick.
This week marks 7 years since Tommy Ballard was killed, and tonight in an interview you will only see right here on WHAS 11 News, his widow, Sherry Ballard, sat down with Shay McAllister in Bardstown today, sharing her reaction to the major developments in the investigations that are underway and what she hopes is coming next.
Oh, man.
Shay?
Well, Doug, of course, Sherry has stayed incredibly tight-lipped here at the direction of investigators. But as her husband's case marks 7 years unsolved, she told me she feels obligated to continue to fight for answers. And she's feeling confident another arrest could come at any moment.
My kitchen window faces this tree, and we would stand at the counter together and just, you know, we'd be like, oh, look, the tree's doing its thing today. And I miss him being at my kitchen counter.
Every year, when the season starts to change, Sherry Ballard sees this tree as a reminder. Another year has passed without her husband, her high school sweetheart, Tommy Ballard. He was shot and killed November 19th, 2016.
So to think it's been almost 7 years since, you know, that happened to Tommy, I feel like I haven't had him for a lifetime, but to think it's really been 7 years, it's unbelievable.
For 16 months after his daughter disappeared, Tommy led search parties, collected boxes of evidence, and mapped out possible scenarios of what could have happened to her. He was so determined, Sherry says she believed someone killed him to shut him down.
I think he wouldn't have given up, and certain people knew that he would not give up.
Every year that passes is difficult, but this year is different.
And I think things are coming together. And I think I'm headed in the right direction. After 7 years, I'm finally headed in the right direction.
Sherry was in the front row of the courtroom when the special prosecutor on her daughter's case dropped a bombshell.
We're investigating the murder of Tommy Ballard.
Announcing not only are they working on his murder, they think they know who killed him.
We are waiting for testing to come back on the firearm we believe was used to murder Tommy Ballard, a firearm that we purchased from Nicholas Houck.
Totally surprised. Totally.
And was it a good surprise?
Oh, so they didn't tell her ahead of time. I'm surprised that they did not let her know in advance that they had this firearm. That's interesting.
It was hard, but very good in the end. Very hard.
Was that information new to you, or is that what you have always believed?
No, it's what I've always believed. I've said that from day one. You know, I've never, ever changed my mind on that, ever.
She's been suspicious of the man linked to her daughter's disappearance since the very beginning. Nick Houck was fired from the Bardstown Police Department just months after Crystal was reported missing. The chief of police accusing him of interfering with the investigation and then failing a polygraph. In a 2015 police interview, he denies any involvement in Crystal's case.
You did fail that test.
Well, then the test, then it wasn't valid. I mean,
Absolutely valid.
well, listen, I'm telling you, I had nothing to do with it.
We find her, we're going to know, no doubt about it.
Now, all eyes are on the firearm tests that are...
Okay, I am definitely no Nick Houck fan at all, but polygraphs are not admissible in a court of law. So, can a police officer get fired from failing a polygraph test? Because they're not admissible in a court of law, so how could he get canned for not passing one in an active investigation? That one I don't understand. I mean, by no means am I defending him. Please do not take it that way. I agree he should have been fired. But in the same token, if that is the only reason why he got fired, I don't agree with that.
Currently underway. The special prosecutor saying 4 out of 5 tests are a match.
Do you feel like you have a confidence this year that maybe you haven't had in previous years?
A lot more confidence, a lot more. God is finally answering some of my prayers. You know, it's His time, not mine, and I'm very happy with that.
Happy and hopeful that next year, when the leaves start to fall with the change of the season, she isn't waiting for answers, but instead starting to look toward the next chapter, one with justice on the very first page. Well, Kentucky State Police are the lead agency on Tommy Ballard's case. I reached out to them for an update on the investigation today. They gave me this statement, which reads in part, "We continue to work closely with our federal and local law enforcement departments as partners, as we have done over the course of the investigation. As been from the very beginning, our ultimate goal is to bring justice for Tommy and closure for the Ballard family." Doug?
All right, so now we're moving on to October 24th, 2023. Attorneys for Houck attempt to get Judge Charles Simmons removed from the case due to bias. The claims stem from comments Judge Sims made in 2017 when presiding over a custody case involving Houck's girlfriend at the time. November 28, 2023. The Kentucky Supreme Court rules Judge Sims can remain on the bench for the Houck murder case. The court also upheld Houck's $10 million bond, which his defense team argued was oppressive and should be lowered. No, it should not, because he does not need to be out on bond. No, sir, no way. December 6, 2023, the FBI and Kentucky State Police conduct a massive dig in Nelson County. The search was tied to at least one of 3 unsolved homicides in Bardstown. Let's take a look at that one. FBI searches Nelson County property for evidence in an unsolved Bardstown case. Okay, so here they have all 3 of them. Let's see. Let's go ahead and play this. It's only 3.5 minutes, so we'll go ahead and play this one real quick.
A new dig happening in Nelson County as we speak, connected to one of Bardstown's unsolved cases. It is our top story here at 4. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Brooke Hash. They are searching in Cox Creek, which is in Nelson County. The dig has been focused on this property off of Thompson Hill Road. It's near the Nelson and Bullitt County lines. You can see here that property butts up against a wooded area with a long gravel driveway leading up to a house. Our Shay McAllister is down in Nelson County with photojournalist Jessica Farley. Shay, what do you know about this dig?
Well, Brooke, as far as we can tell, this is the first time authorities have searched this particular property in connection to any of the Bardstown cases. Uniquely here, we have to say any of the Bardstown cases because police are not specifying which case they're focusing on. It could be Tommy Ballard, Crystal Rogers, or Jason Ellis. We have spoken with both of those families today. They tell us they're staying hopeful that answers were found. Down a long driveway tucked on a rural property behind thick woods, FBI special agents and Kentucky State Police officers work on the latest search connected to the unsolved cases in Bardstown. Special prosecutor Shane Young confirming the effort is in connection to one of three cases: Jason Ellis, Tommy Ballard, or Crystal Rogers. Rogers' grandfather, Till Ballard, got word of the search Wednesday afternoon. He said he had to see it for himself. He says his heart tells him they're looking for Crystal.
I believe it has to be Crystal's remains because Jason Ellis, they buried him and we buried Tommy, so she's the only one in Nelson County that's left. But I just hope the day comes that we can get her remains and bury her, and everybody involved in this pay for it the rest of their lives.
Today was day 3 of searching, according to neighbors. The first police vehicles and equipment were spotted at 7 a.m. on Monday morning. Neighbors also pointed out this property just up the road. They say this is where the search started, with a giant hole dug behind this trailer earlier this week. On Wednesday, we saw heavy excavating equipment, dozens of unmarked police vehicles, and construction equipment, all gone by 2 p.m., wrapping up earlier than previous days, according to neighbors. Authorities have not said what they're looking for or how this property is connected to the cases. Still, families are holding out hope.
It feels
Is
real
it a
good.
Brooks property?
Maybe finally we'll get some justice and find Crystal's remains.
Is that one of
We
Brooks'
also
properties?
spoke with Jason Ellis's family today. They tell us that they too are holding out hope that somehow this property holds ties to his case and eventually some answers. Officials will not confirm if searching will continue tomorrow or where they are in that process. We know that Kentucky State Police has been keeping this site secure since the search started on Monday, and right now they are not here. Live in Nelson County, I'm Shay McAllister, WHAS 11 on your side.
And for more information about the current state of the...
They did not let you know whether or not it was one of Brooks' properties, though. That's what I would want to know. See if there's anything in here. There is a house on the property, but a neighbor said it has been vacant for a while now. It's unclear if the home was searched as well. It's not saying anything in there, so I don't know. All right, so going back to the timeline now. Let's see, we were on December 6th, where they conducted a massive dig in Nelson County. Okay, so we're moving on to December 8th now. A third man, Steve Lawson, is arrested and charged in the case. So this right here, this is Steve Lawson. So you got Steve Lawson, you got Joey Lawson, which is Steve Lawson's son, and Brooks Houck. And then, of course, we've got our beautiful Crystal Rogers right over here. Okay, so January 9th, 2024, Judge Sims approved a motion to reduce Steve Lawson's bond from $500,000 to $250,000. February 8th, 2024, all three suspects charged in Crystal's death appeared in court together for the first time. A trial date has been set in 2025. The prosecution wants to have all three men tried together, but one attorney doesn't believe that will happen. So February 12th, 2024, Judge Sims rules that Joseph Lawson's bond should be reduced from $500,000 to $250,000. March 5th, 2024, Steve Lawson's attorney requests judge to dismiss Lawson's charges or have his testimony excluded from evidence. So let's take a look at this video real quick.
Now tonight
This
at
is only
6
5
on
minutes.
WHAS 11 News, the story we've all been following for so many years. For the first time, the three men charged in connection to the disappearance of Crystal Rogers appearing in a Nelson County courtroom together. It is, of course, one of the biggest Bardstown mysteries, now with a trial date set by the judge. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I'm Doug Prophet. We have coverage for you coming up on this big day. Prosecutors want to try Brooks Houck, Stephen Lawson, and his son Joseph Lawson all together starting February 10th, 2025. WHAS 11 Shay McAllister and photojournalist Jessica Farley are joining us live from Nelson County with more on that stunning scene of all three men coming into the courtroom. Shay?
Stunning scene.
Doug, and it's important to note, it may not happen that way. That would be the prosecutor's ideal situation. Trial almost 1 year to the day from today, all three men together. We already know that one of those defendants' attorney, Brian Butler, is going to say no to that. He made it clear he plans to file an objection. The bigger question here, will they meet that February date with so much evidence to go through? Attorneys saying today it will be a lot.
All rise.
One by one, the men accused of killing Crystal Rogers filed into the courtroom. Joseph Lawson was wheeled in first, followed by his father, Steve Lawson. And then in black and white stripes with cuffs on his wrists, Crystal's former boyfriend, Brooks Houck, took his seat. It was a surprise for all three men to be brought in together, but perhaps a sign of what's to come.
So you're going to be...
Okay, I'm assuming the reason why the Lawsons are in orange and Brooks is in black and white is because the difference in charges. But that's just an assumption. I've never been to prison, so I don't know exactly how that works. But another thing is why is Joseph coming in a wheelchair? I don't think they've ever made that known, but we're going to move on.
Filing a motion to try all three cases together, as I take it, and then
the prosecutor indicating he hopes to try all three men together in one trial more than a year from now.
Wipe that damn smirk off of your face.
Based upon the complexity of the nature and of the case itself and the discovery being so voluminous, we believe that a trial date set sometime mid-February of 2025.
But that date will only stick if they're able to get through the absolutely massive amounts of evidence, said to be more than a terabyte, including investigative files from 3 different agencies, the FBI, state police, and the sheriff's office.
When we received the case, it took us, Ms. Young, 6 months to go through the discovery, and that included Ellis and Ballard.
Jason Ellis and Tommy Ballard mentioned as part of the case file that was initially handed over to the prosecutor, but still no arrests in either of those cases, something a friend of the Ballards thinks will soon change.
This is not the only three that's had something to do with it. I'd bet everywhere I got in my pocket that there's more out there that had something to do with this.
Back in the courtroom, attorneys for Joseph Lawson were fighting for a lower bond, saying their client isn't a danger to the public.
It's obvious the court conceives that he is paraplegic. That's just a fact that exists for him, and that obviously lessens his ability, right, to even have any sort of free movement, independent movement, which obviously goes towards the lack of him being a flight risk. And similarly, it goes towards the lack of him being a danger.
But the Commonwealth fought back, pointing to his criminal history, alleged involvement in Crystal's death, and actions after he found out detectives were eyeing him.
He also is a risk. Once he found out that he was a subject, a target of what happened to this young woman, he called around or texted around to associates, to friends of his, to cover for him. to give him an alibi that night of July the 3rd when she's missing.
The judge plans to rule on bond by the beginning of next week. And 20 minutes after it started, the defendants left the doors they came in, heading back to the jail cells, where they will wait for the next development in Bardstown's greatest mystery. Well, Doug, today was the first time father and son, Stephen and Joseph, had seen each other since they were arrested. We asked the attorneys if they were able to talk to each other. Attorney Ted Lavitt told us they passed each other and no words were exchanged.
Well, Shay, everybody's still wondering if the other unsolved Bardstown mysteries are connected in any way. What did they say in the court today about Jason Ellis and Tommy Ballard?
It was mentioned only briefly. You saw it in that story. The prosecutor said when he was first given this case file, it took him 6 months to go through it, but he noted that also included Ellis and Ballard. Importantly to note here, that would insinuate that Crystal, Tommy, and Jason are all connected in one case file. They didn't elaborate. They didn't tell us any more than that, but only that the prosecutor had received all three names and evidence in all three cases in one physical file. Very interesting there, Doug. We're certainly looking forward to hearing more on that.
All right. That next court date is going to be so interesting. Of course, we'll be there. Thank you, Shay. And again, here's where we stand tonight. Part of today's hearing focusing on the bond for Joseph Lawson, currently set at $500,000, $500,000. But as
investigation has had such.
Okay, what just happened there? I don't know. I'm sorry about that. We were towards the end of that video anyway, so let's move back down here. We were on... We weren't that far. Okay. We were on March 7th. Okay, so March 7th, Brooks Houck is the first suspect to request his trial be moved out of Nelson County. Right? Yeah, because we already went dismissing Lawson's charge. Okay. All right, so yeah, I just read that one, March 7th. Okay, so March 8th, 2024, Steve Lawson follows Houck, requests his trial also be moved to a different county. Court documents once again tie Crystal's case to Tommy Ballard's death investigation. March 11, 2024, Kentucky Court of Appeals rejects Brooks Houck's bond appeal, making his $10 million bond final. Good. March 12, 2024, Joseph Lawson is the final suspect who asked for his trial to be moved out of Nelson County. And then March 14th, 2024, Special Prosecutor Shane Young files motion to consolidate suspects' trial into one. And then it says, listen below. New season of the Bardstown podcast follows the latest updates in Crystal Rogers' disappearance. Okay, you guys can go ahead and, like I said, I'm going to be linking this article down below so you'll be able to access all the links within the article and can go through everything on here if you want to. I'm not going to do everything. Okay, so what's this? This is Back to Bardstown, Shock and Confusion, Episode 1. Yeah, that's probably going to be way too long. Yeah, that's 31 minutes, so we're not going to do that. Sorry, y'all. You can go ahead and listen to that on your own. March 15th, 2024, Houck's attorney objects to Young's motion to combine the trials. Here's why. Okay, so why is that? Let's go ahead and check that out. New documents filed by Brooks Houck's attorney claims he cannot be tied with the other two men charged in the case because he would be unfairly prejudiced against. How do you figure? This was published March 15th, 2024, and it was updated March 15th, 2024. So basically, it was never updated. Okay, so Bardstown, Kentucky, just days after the prosecution on the Crystal Rogers case asked the judge to consider combining the trials of the three men charged. One of the attorneys is fighting back. Brooks Houck is charged with the murder and tampering of physical evidence in connection to the death of his girlfriend, Crystal Rogers. Steve Lawson and Joseph Lawson are also charged in the case, accused of conspiracy to commit red rum and tampering with physical evidence. The Bardstown mother of 5 disappeared over the 4th of July weekend. In 2015, Rogers has been presumed dead for years. Earlier this year, a trial date for the 3 men charged in Rogers' death was scheduled for February 2025. Now Houck's attorney has filed new court documents objecting to the prosecutor's request to combine all 3. The attorney claims the prosecutor lacks proof that Rogers is dead, and if she is dead, they can do no more than guess at who red-rummed her, how she died, why she died, and where she died. The attorney goes on to say there is no crime scene, red rum weapon, or realistic motive for the alleged crime. Miss Rogers' body has never been found. That doesn't mean that there wasn't a red rumming. According to court documents, the investigators desperately needed to solve the case, despite evidentiary problems, the attorney said. The nearly 9 years law enforcement has spent digging up subdivisions and farmland across Nelson County tells a different story about what they know. Because of a lack of evidence, the attorneys claim detectives and the prosecutors targeted the Lawsons to build a case against Houck. The interviews of Stephen Lawson and Joseph Lawson demonstrate a get Brooks mentality that colored every decision made by law enforcement in this investigation. The documents include multiple transcripts with police detectives, including one statement that reads, "Whether you red-rummed her or not wouldn't be our concern. And I don't care what your role was. I don't care Jerry's role. You go home." Interesting. According to new documents, Steve Lawson has given more than 20 hours of police testimony that are, quote, full of inconsistencies, later admitted lies, and responses to leading questions aimed at implicating Brooks in the disappearance of Crystal Rogers, end quote. The attorney claimed if combined, the trial would be built against Houck using information that was gathered during a, quote, biased investigation, end quote, using, quote, coercive interrogation tactics, end quote. Prosecutor Shane Young filed his motion for a joint trial on Thursday, writing in court documents, quote, a joint trial will ensure a jury be given the complete picture of what occurred on July 3rd or 4th of 2015 and the involvement of each defendant, end quote. Young also noted that all 3 suspects have recently filed motions to move the trial outside of Nelson County. Their attorneys argue their clients won't receive a fair trial due to the investigation unfolding in the public eye over the course of several years. Young said if the trial is moved to another county, it would be another reason to hold a joint trial. Houck's attorney is asking the judge to deny the prosecutor's request to combine the trial out of convenience, writing, quote, the inconvenience does not outweigh each of these defendants' constitutional right to a fair trial, especially when such gravely serious charges are involved, end quote. This latest motion is one of several to be discussed next Thursday when all 3 men are back in court. This is going to be a long video. Yes, it is. That's an hour and 45 minutes. That's his full interrogation at that's Houck's full interrogation at the police station. I've done seen it, and you guys can go ahead and you can watch it, but I'm not going to go ahead and include that in this video because it is a very long interrogation. So we're going to go back over here to the timeline. Okay, so we're now on March 25th, 2024. Brooks Houck and Steve Lawson appear in court, but no decisions are made. However, all the attorneys agree the Crystal Rogers trial should be moved out of Nelson County. Judge Sims requests attorneys find a courtroom large enough for public viewing and a separate entrance for jurors. And then on April 25th, 2024, attorneys select Christian County as a potential location for the trial to be moved to. The Christian County Circuit Court is located in Hopkinsville, which is about 2 hours from Bardstown. This video is new court documents, headlights on alleged cover-up after...
Today, new court documents in the Crystal Rogers case shedding light on an alleged cover-up planned days before the Bardstown mother of 5 disappeared. Prosecutors say that Brooks Houck contacted Steve Lawson, an employee at the time, and asked him, quote, to get rid of Crystal Rogers or find someone who will. The new court documents go on to say Lawson told investigators about Houck's desire to get rid of Crystal and that Houck recruited his family to help. And then, when Steve Lawson called Houck in the early morning hours of July 4th, 2015, it was to tell him that, quote, the job was done. This case is expected back in court on June 13th. That hearing will be focused on 2 motions, a motion to combine the trials and a motion to dismiss Steve Lawson's charges. Court will be in Nelson County starting at 9 a.m.
Interesting. What was I just saying a little bit ago about that phone call in the middle of the night, July 3rd into July 4th? I didn't know about that part right there, so that's rather interesting. Okay, so June 13th, 2024. For the first time, clips of Steve Lawson's interview with police is played in court as attorneys argue whether he was truthful in his testimony in exchange for immunity. The judge does not yet make a decision on whether to dismiss Lawson's charges in Rogers' death. June 14, 2024, new court documents in Steve Lawson's argument for promised immunity shed light on a previous search in Nelson County. Detectives were digging on December 6, 2023 because Lawson said he saw Joseph Lawson and another man, quote, burning and digging, end quote, on the farm within days of Crystal Rogers' disappearance. July 3rd, 2024. On the 9-year mark since Crystal Rogers' disappearance, Judge Simmons denies Steve Lawson's motion to drop his charges. And there they are again. Joseph Lawson, Brooks Houck, and Stephen Lawson. Okay. July 8th, 2024. Brooks Houck is back in court with his attorneys fighting to keep his trial separate from the Lawson's trial. No decision is made as the judge wants to hear from Joseph Lawson's attorneys. As for the trial's location, attorneys told WHAS 11 that Judge Simmons isn't keen on it moving to Christian County. July 18, 2024. Joseph Lawson appears in court over Zoom for a status conference hearing. He wants to keep his trial separate from his father's, but Judge Sims pushes the hearing back to August 8th, when both Lawsons will be back in court. Still no decision on the final location for the trial. August 8th, 2024. Both Lawsons are back in court, but before the hearing can begin, Steve Lawson informs the judge he has fired his attorney, Ted Lavitt. He claims that Lavitt had been working with attorneys for another suspect charged in Rogers' death. Prosecutors agree with Lawson, saying it doesn't appear he has had conflict-free counsel. Interesting. Suspect in Crystal Rogers' death fires attorney in court. How long is it? Okay. We've already got a long video going here, so if you want to go ahead and watch that, you guys can watch that on your own. August 22nd, 2024, Steve Lawson's new attorneys, Darren Wolf and Zach Buckler, tell the judge they are unsure the trial in Crystal Rogers' death will begin on time. September 4th, 2024, FBI searches another property in Nelson County for 3 days looking for Crystal Rogers' body. The property was formerly owned by Brooks and Nick Houck's grandmother, Anna Whitesides. October 4th, 2024, some police interviews won't be heard at Steve Lawson's trial. However, his grand jury testimonies will be. I didn't think that they could bring grand jury testimonies into court because I thought that those were kept secret. October 7th, 2024, Judge Sims rules the Crystal Rogers Red Room trial will be moved 100 miles south to Warren County. November 5th, 2024, Sims rules Steve Lawson's trial will be separate from the trial for his son, Joseph Lawson, and Brooks Houck, who will be tried together. November 12th, 2024. Trial date set for Steve Lawson on February 10th, 2025. The trial for Joseph Lawson and Brooks Houck will be in late June. Let's see, is this a quick video? No, it is not. That's 22 minutes, so y'all have to watch that on your own. I'm sorry. January 9th, 2025. Judge Sims approves a motion to delay Steve Lawson's trial another 3 months. His attorneys argue with the overwhelming amount of evidence in the case, there was no way it would have happened on February 11. A new trial is scheduled for May 27, 2025. And then we got February 27, 2025. Steve Lawson's attorneys again look to delay his trial, reiterating concerns about the huge amount of evidence. They argue Lawson hasn't had time to review the evidence against him, to which Sims offers to bring Lawson to court every day if necessary to keep the trial on track. And then March 26, 2025, the judge approves Special Prosecutor Shane Young's motion to DNA test 2 hairs found inside Rogers' abandoned car nearly a decade ago. Why were those 2 hairs not tested prior to this? That does not make any sense to me. March 27, 2025. New court documents reveal Kentucky State Police found a 3rd hair, which appeared to be similar to Rogers, inside the trunk of a Houck family member's car in 2016. One suspect pushes back against new DNA testing. I wonder if it was Brooks. What do y'all think? April 3rd, 2025. Prosecutor Young remands his request to DNA test hairs found in Rogers' car. But Steve Lawson's attorneys are now fighting to test the hairs in search of a potentially new suspect in the Bardstown mother's death. Okay, so the prosecutor is now saying, oh, forget it, we don't want to test those hairs. Interesting. And then April 14th of 2025, Steve Lawson's attorneys argue to thoroughly test the 2 hairs. Prosecutors accuse his defense of using the test as a fishing expedition, quote unquote, to delay his trial by months. That's interesting. So April 18th, 2025, Judge Sims denies Steve Lawson's request to DNA test the 2 hairs found in Rogers' car. The trial remains on schedule to begin on May 27. And then May 13th, 2025, 2 weeks ahead of the first trial in Crystal Rogers' death, Judge bans all electronics, including cameras, from entering the courtroom. But yet it says Crystal Rogers' case get extensive trial coverage on WHAS 11, so I guess they were allowed into the courtroom. Okay, so let's see. May 23rd, 2025. A coalition of Louisville media outlets, including WHAS 11, filed a motion to request a pool, quote unquote, camera to be allowed in the courtroom during Steve Lawson's trial. And then May 27, 2025, judge denies media's request for camera in court, and Steve Lawson's trial begins. Then they got day one recap, and they've got recaps here, day 2, day 3. And then on May 30th, 2025, jury finds Steve Lawson guilty on both charges, recommending a 17-year prison sentence. His sentence is scheduled for August 6th, 2025, and that brought us to today. June 5th, 2025, Steve Lawson's attorneys request a new trial. And then June 24th, 2025, jury chosen for second trial in Crystal Rogers' case. And then it says, here's a recap. Okay, so that's dealing with the Brooks Houck case, or the Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson case. And then so that, Red Rum trial. So June 25th, 2025, Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson's Red Rum trial began. And then they have the recaps in here if you want to go take a look at those. So it started on June 25th, 2025, and it lasted for 8 days, it looks like. And then on July 8th, 2025, jury convicts Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson on all charges in Crystal Rogers' death. And then it says this story will be updated as new developments are made in the Crystal Rogers case. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to link this article. You can go through all the recaps and everything and all the other links in this particular case and all that. But this video is already long enough. So I'm going to actually make a new video to go over the sentencing for Joseph Lawson. Thank you very much, and stay safe, stay happy. Please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so that you can get all the new videos as they come out. Thank you very much for all of your support, and have a beautiful day. Bye-bye now.